This is no ordinary therapy session. This woman is experiencing what she believes is a past life. It's a new and controversial form of psychic healing. Have you been here before? Hugh Downs with an intriguing possibility. When 2020 continues after this from our ABC stations. ABC News 2020 continues. Once again, Hugh Downs.
We're going to give you a second look now at a really strange phenomenon. Ordinary people undergoing an extraordinary experience that appears to be useful, whether or not it's believable. Have you ever considered the possibility that you have been here before? Now, reincarnation is not a new idea. What is new, and perhaps revolutionary, is the way some therapists have tapped into the idea. Troubled patients are finding comfort, and some are getting better, by going back to what they imagine is a former life. But if you're skeptical, you're certainly not alone. Palm Beach County, Florida. When the medevac helicopter is called for an emergency.
Okay, 10-4, we're off.
When police swing into action. When fire trucks roll. News Center 25 photographer Sean Phillips is on the scene. It's a job grounded in gritty reality. Its practitioners are no nonsense. Imagine then his colleagues' shock when Sean told them that he had a former career in a former life in 1500.
I was a fisherman on, I would say, a Mediterranean island, either Greece or something like that. And
from News Center 25, the area's most honored news team, Reg Miller, Karen Curtis.
News Center co-anchor Karen Curtis is an award-winning reporter. She's built her reputation on being a serious journalist. But she recently told co-workers that she died almost 50 years ago.
I did die in a high chair in 1945. It was something I believe that happened, that I died and I came back.
What made these skeptical reporters believe they had lived before? Well, it started as a routine assignment to do a story about this man, Dr. Brian Weiss, a psychiatrist with impressive credentials. Columbia University, Yale Medical School, former chairman of psychiatry at Miami's prestigious Mount Sinai Medical Center. Now he's the foremost practitioner of a new and controversial brand of healing, so outlandish by most standards, you may have trouble believing it. He did. It's called regression therapy, and this kind proposes taking patients back not just to their childhood, but to past lives. Now, Dr. Weiss says the very concept of past lives would have struck him as nonsense 10 years ago. But when a patient of his, under hypnosis, spontaneously regressed to numerous past lives, Dr. Weiss started a decade of research. He now says that accepting the idea of past lives has great healing power.
For example, if a patient comes in with a fear of water, and I see quite a few of that, and we go back and using these techniques, I find that they had drowned, or they say they drowned, in the previous century, and that's where the fear of water comes from.
The technique Dr. Weiss refers to is hypnosis. Patients like Madeline, who respond well to it, are the best candidates for regression therapy.
Deeper and deeper.
Here's how it works. It starts by relaxing body and mind. Weiss plays soothing music and asks patients to picture tranquil settings.
Visualize yourself in that wonderful garden where you can completely relax. A place of utter beauty and safety and serenity. Beautiful, beautiful garden with plants and trees and flowers. And next, visualize a beautiful light above your head, coming into your body now through the top of your head. This is a beautiful, healing, relaxing, deepening light.
Once patients reach this totally relaxed state, says Weiss, memories they feel are from former lives may flood to the surface.
I'm going to ask you what year it is. Whatever number pops into your head is fine.
1826.
Okay, 1826.
The notion is that understanding when and how fears began is the first step in curing them. Madeline's crippling fear of water, for example, she traces to a former life in the 19th century. En route to America, the ship she was on encountered a storm.
Everything's getting pushed from side to side on
on the deck of the boat,
Yes.
and the waves are coming in.
Yes. What happens to you? Are you up on the deck?
I'm in the water now.
Mm-hmm. Did you get washed over the side?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What happens to you?
It's cold.
Mm-hmm.
I can't swim. I can't breathe. I can't see anything. It's dark.
Yes.
Madeline, who thinks she was then a woman named Mary Bowles, drowned.
It's cold.
Madeline says it worked. Knowing its source, she's overcome her fear of water. And Dr. Weiss also helped with the grief over her husband's death. If we have multiple lives, we'll all meet again.
Well, you either are a believer or a non-believer, and I'm comfortable in sharing my ideas with anyone.
This is so far afield, though, from orthodoxy, either in medical science or religion, that it must be difficult. And I wonder if you ran across any ridicule on the part of medical colleagues.
I'm getting a lot of support individually from my colleagues in medicine, but as a group, nothing. If anything, there was more a kind of approach towards ridicule or censure.
We asked the American Psychiatric Association if there's any official position on past life therapy. There is not. Nor is there any estimate of how many psychiatrists are using it. There are enough, however, to warrant a study in one of the psychological journals. It tested regression therapy on 100 college students and found that those subjects who thought they had a past life were either already believers in reincarnation or were influenced by the hypnotist's questions. Their supposed past life experiences didn't check out.
What we found was that almost invariably, subjects were historically inaccurate. They got all kinds of things wrong.
Nicholas Spanos, one of the study's authors, is professor of psychiatry at Carleton University in Ottawa.
They said things or were aware of things that a person who actually lived at that time could not possibly have been aware of. For instance, someone might say that the year was 54 BC. Well, if you lived in some time period BC, obviously you couldn't know it was BC.
Karen and Sean were similarly skeptical before they met Dr. Weiss. They thought his theories may be pretty silly, an uncomfortable mix of Freud and Kreskin. But all that changed.
What happened to me in Dr. Weiss's office was not planned. It was totally unexpected, and it was very powerful.
I don't know.
Under Weiss's hypnosis, Karen became her mother's sister, Adria. Adria died as an infant, slipping down in her high chair and strangling on its feeding table.
Can you see that kitchen?
Yes.
You're seeing that now?
Yes.
Good. How are you able to see?
I'm Adria.
You know that, yes. That's how it works, right?
Karen lived the experience as Adria, desperately trying to get her mother's attention as she was suffocating.
Souls never die. You can see it now, but don't be sad now. You came back.
to me.
Mm-hmm. You can remember. And what's happening to you? Just float above it if you wish.
I was playing with my rattle.
It's all right. Float above. You can breathe. You're fine. You're spirit again now.
Weiss's explanation was that Adria's soul had been reborn in Karen's body. And after their session, Karen was convinced.
It was vivid, and it happened, and I felt that it had happened, and that I was her. It was very strong.
Karen says she now feels more aware of things like spirit life and signs. But given her occupation, she's still reluctant to say flatly that she believes in reincarnation.
I have a healthy concern that our viewers will perceive me as some nut, but I was just a reporter undergoing a hypnotic procedure in which I had a very intense experience.
Dr. Weiss used to be equally reluctant to state his feelings on reincarnation. But after a decade of research and work with hundreds of patients, does he believe it?
I do now.
But unless it's subjected to some pretty rigorous scientific method. And in which case, if that was done and the proof came out that this was correct, that would take it off of the pages of the tabloids and into scientific journals, and that would be the news of the millennium, maybe. That hasn't happened.
Well, it's happening. And I couldn't... I think so, because I've gotten letters, phone calls from so many physicians and other therapists, more than 100, who are doing this work. And they write to me, I've been doing this work for 10 or 15 years, but in the secrecy or privacy of my office, don't tell anyone. And I'm encouraging them to publish their work too.
Therapies can be effective even though the theory behind the therapy isn't true.
I'm not here to tell anyone that reincarnation is real or not real, but as regression therapy, or that part of this that seems to heal people, that's very real.
How willing are people to believe that there's help in these forays through ancient eras? Well, at the moment, Dr. Weiss has a client waiting list of 2,000 people.
Well, since we did this story, has it grown beyond 2,000?
It has, yeah. Dr. Weiss says now that he's getting calls from Eastern Europe and from as far away as Japan and Korea. And his book, incidentally, that Many Lives, Many Masters, is now a runaway bestseller in places like Colombia and Taiwan. So apparently it's not just an American phenomenon.
And it goes into people's different religious beliefs and still somehow manages to
grow,
exist.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, first of all, I do not think that any of the people I talked with are phonies. I think they really had the experience. But that does not constitute evidence for me that reincarnation of the type they're talking about exists.
Because memory can't go down through...
I don't think memory transfers personal memory from one human to another.
We'll be back with more.